Hello and welcome to the session. My name is Ahilan. I'm a partner solution architect here at Amazon Web Services specializing in migrations. And I'm also joined by my colleague Jindu Charian, who is from the Migration Solution Architect team. Together, we are glad to have you joining us today for this session on automating large-scale migrations with CloudEndure Migration Factory. In this session, we are going to cover some of the challenges customers like yourself face during the execution of large-scale migrations. We are then going to introduce the CloudEndure migration tool, walk you through the CloudEndure Migration Factory solution, cover customer use cases, and proceed to a solution demo before summarizing the session. Migrations can be challenging, and these challenges can exist throughout the migration phases. Some of the common challenges customers face are time constraints. Customers often have tight timelines to execute migration to avoid data center lease extensions or to meet a migration cutover window period. Scale. The requirement to migrate multiple workloads at scale can be challenging in terms of execution and resource management. Migration often involves small repetitive tasks which needs to be executed in a particular order to yield success. Carrying out these tasks manually can often lead to manual errors which can impact the success of the migration. Coordinating multiple teams such as infrastructure, operations, applications, testing, and security throughout the migrations can also be challenging and often require centralized tracking capability which is often not available or deployed. Having said that, the good news is we can reduce these challenges and further accelerate migrations through detailed assessment and planning activities and leveraging tools to automate and provide centralized tracking for the migration. Customers hope that migrating their data center to the cloud would be as simple as clicking a button which will automatically move all their workloads to the cloud. However, in reality, migration process is slightly more complex. Migrating a single workload will require you to first discover the application resources, servers, and databases, build or prepare the foundation for the migration of the application, migrate the server application database or data, integrate the application with its interdependencies, carry out validation in terms of functional performance and security, finally cut over the application to the cloud. Post-migration optimization works and monitoring will follow. Besides that, throughout the migration cycle, there are multiple team involvement, the execution of multiple small repetitive tasks, and the leverage of multiple tool sets. What if we reimagine that migration button to multiple smaller buttons to handle each stage of the workload migration cycle? It will certainly allow us to automate better, integrate with the external factors like people and tooling, and further tailor for variations depending on your environment requirements. This is the foundation of how the CloudEndure Migration Factory was designed upon, allowing automation of small repetitive tasks and providing you the capability to monitor and track these tasks as the workloads are being migrated through each stage of the migration cycle to AWS Cloud. Now, before we discuss further on the CloudEndure Migration Factory solution, it is worthwhile to take a step back and understand the CloudEndure Migration Service, which is an agent-based tool that empowers the CloudEndure Migration Factory solution. CloudEndure Migration is now part of the AWS Migration Service. The tool is used to rehost applications to AWS Cloud through block-level replications. CloudEndure Migration supports any x86 source environment and helps accelerate cloud-to-cloud and on-premise to cloud migrations. CloudEndure also supports migrations of commercial databases, for example, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, and also enterprise applications like SAP. CloudEndure Migrations is free for 90 days of usage for all AWS customers. And it supports migration into a wide range of AWS Elastic Compute Cloud Platform shown here as a target server to the migration. The CloudEndure Migration Factory solution is an orchestration platform powered by CloudEndure to help you rehost your applications to AWS at scale. The solution helps integrate your inventory, perform automation, and connect to other AWS services such as CloudEndure migrations and Amazon Managed Services to perform large-scale migrations. The solution also introduced an automation to execute repetitive tasks to help you reduce manual errors and accelerate your migrations. CloudEndure Migration Factory also allows you to track and manage your migration tasks from a centralized console. Let's now quickly walk through the architecture of the CloudEndure Migration Factory. Firstly, the solution can be deployed into your AWS account by leveraging the CloudEndure Migration Factory CloudFormation template. The CloudFormation template will deploy the front end and the back end of the Migration Factory solution. The front end is a JavaScript application running on Amazon Elastic Container Service ECS, and the back end are API-driven Lambda functions supporting functions such as authentication with Cognito, administration, and integration. If you have multiple AWS accounts, you will only need to install the Migration Factory in a single AWS account to handle migrations across all AWS accounts. On your far left is the Migration Execution Server, which is a Microsoft Windows server in your data center that had joined your AD domain. This server is used to run the CloudEndure Migration Factory automation scripts, which will connect to the Windows source servers via Windows Remote Management PowerShell and the Linux source servers via the SSH protocol. It is very essential to understand the integration provided by CloudEndure Migration Factory. The CloudEndure Migration Factory leverages DynamoDB as a metadata store for integration. Inventory that can be ingested into the solution via CSV import or through REST API integration with existing CMD solutions. Data that have been ingested into the metadata store will then be leveraged for automation, example, CloudEndure agent installation for each source server. The data in the metadata store is also leveraged to perform migrations through AWS services such as CloudEndure and AMS WIP via REST API integrations. CloudEndure Migration Factory solution also empowers you to automate small repetitive tasks which is required to be executed when using the CloudEndure migration tool. The status of these tasks are also tracked from the front-end console. The automation happens in 4 phases, which includes the build phase, mainly to handle prerequisites and agent installation, the validate phase, to monitor the replications and local admin creations, the test phase to carry out test cutovers, and the cutover phase to handle actual cutover activities. The automation feature here emulates the multiple small button analogy used earlier in the presentation. Before jumping into the demo, let's first go through some of the use cases where we can leverage the CloudEndure Migration Factory solution. The first 2 use cases is to automate CloudEndure agent installation and create Amazon Managed Service Request for Change, RFC, in scenarios where there are more than hundreds of source servers. This saves time and reduces the risk for manual errors. The CloudEndure Migration Factory solution can also be used to orchestrate CloudEndure cutover process at scale. For example, we had a partner that leveraged the solution and had successfully migrated 626 servers in less than a day. The last use case is where you have inventory data in many source formats such as CSV files, or various CMDB solutions. The solution allows you to easily ingest and centralize all the inventory data into the centralized metadata store for automation and migration execution. I will now pass this session to Jindu for the demo.
Hi, my name is Jindu Cherian, and I'm a solutions architect here at Amazon Web Services, specializing in migrations. And we are so glad to have you joining us today for this CloudEndure Migration Factory demo. This particular session, the CloudEndure Migration Factory demo, is intended to show you how Migration Factory solution coordinates and automates large-scale migration to the AWS cloud. There are three fundamental automation tasks which I want to demonstrate. Number one, import server data into CloudEndure Migration Factory using a CSV file. Number two, check the prerequisites and push the CloudEndure agent installation. Number three, cut over the servers for an entire wave group in one go. We are on the demo server right now. We will be using this demo server to run all automation task scripts. This server mimics the source data center joined to the source Active Directory domain. We can connect to all source servers from this demo server, as in connectivity to Windows servers we'll be using remote PowerShell, and connectivity to Linux servers we'll be using SSH protocol. Now let's start with the automation task script. Automation task script number one, import the source server data into CloudEndure Migration Factory. But before that, let me quickly show you how we can do that in a normal scenario using CloudEndure console so that we can compare both these options. This is a CloudEndure console, and we have two servers already added here. We can only select one server at a time and update the blueprint. A blueprint is a target server configuration definition where we select the instance type, the subnet, and the security group and save the blueprint one by one for all the servers. Now think about a scenario where we have to repeat this step for 100 servers. And here is where Migration Factory helps you automate this repetitive task by importing all the source server metadata using a CSV file directly into the CloudEndure console. Now let's look at how this works in a Migration Factory scenario. Here is the Migration Factory console. We are currently at the resource list page, and under the resource list, we have wave list, application list, and the server list. And you can define the migration waves by grouping multiple applications and servers together. In wave 1, you may have 3 applications and 10 servers, and wave 2, you may have 20 servers. Now we are going to import the source server list with its metadata using a CSV file. And this is our CSV file, wherein we have 4 servers in the file, 2 Windows and 2 Linux servers. We have defined the source server information including OS information, FQDN, and target server information such as subnet, security group, and EC2 instance type. This metadata information will be used to update the target blueprint at the CloudEndure. Now let's import the source server data to the CloudEndure Migration Factory by selecting the CSV file. And just within few seconds, we will have all the 4 servers imported into the factory. Alternatively, we can also use custom Python script if you have large data sets. Now we have all the servers imported into the factory. And what if you want to change some configuration of the server after you import it into the factory? You can do that by switch to the pipeline and make changes to the configuration, such as changing an application from wave 3 to wave 4. For example, if you have an foreseen delay, or change a server from one subnet to another. And after making those changes, you can save the information. Now we have the server and data at the desired state in the Migration Factory console. Now let's trigger the automation task 2. Validate the prerequisite of the source server list and pushes the CloudEndure agent installation. Now let's run the automation script for checking the prerequisite. We'll type the prerequisite Python script with the wave ID and CloudEndure replication server IP. This will help to validate the connectivity between the source server and the CloudEndure replication server on port 1500. I need to first log into the CloudEndure Migration Factory with the credentials. And we have the server list for wave 1 with 2 Windows and 2 Linux servers. And looks like all good for the Windows server. Now let's also take a look at the Linux servers. Excellent, both Windows and Linux servers has passed the prerequisite test. Now if you want to quickly flip back to the Migration Factory console and check the status of the servers, we can do that in the resource list page. And we can apply filter for the migration status. Now we can see the status of those 4 servers has been changed to prerequisite test passed. Please note that every time you run an automation task script, it will send the feedback using API calls to Migration Factory and update the status so that we have end-to-end visibility to the migration tasks and the processes. Now, next step is to install the CloudEndure agents out to the source server list. Now let's run the automation task script for the agent installation. We need to specify the wave ID as wave 1. And the script will pick all the servers in wave 1 and pushes for the agent installation. We need to log into the migration factory and provide an API token from the CloudEndure console for the installation. And it will fetch all the source server list from the CloudEndure agent installation from wave 1, and we have 2 Windows and 2 Linux servers. The agent installation starts from the first server, and if the first server happens to be a Windows server, it will use remote PowerShell or WinRM protocol. And if the server is Linux, it will use SSH protocol. It will take a few minutes to complete the installation. And in the meantime, I want to show you how the automation task 3 works, how to cut over large number of servers in a cutover window in one go. Before that, I want to show you how do we do that in a normal scenario manually so that we can compare both these options. In a normal scenario, we have to log into the CloudEndure console and update the blueprint of each server one by one. By selecting the right instance type, right subnet, and the security groups. And once we have verified that, we have to switch back to the machine page and select launch target machine, either in the test mode or in the cutover mode. And if you want to do this for 100 servers, we have to repeat this step for 100 times. In the CloudEndure Migration Factory solution, we are changing this approach completely because we never touch the servers, but we always operate at the wave level. Now let's see how we handle launch configuration in the Migration Factory solution. I'll go to the CloudEndure launch configuration in the Migration Factory console, copy the API token, select the project as demo 2. I'll do a dry run first, launch type equal to test, and wave ID is equal to 3. Dry run does not launch the real servers. In fact, dry run validates the configuration. As we have imported the metadata configuration using a CSV file, dry run will help us to validate that there is no error or discrepancies in the metadata. And it is always recommended to do a dry run few days in advance of the actual cutover to make sure our configurations are all good and ready for real cutover. As soon as you press the launch server button, it will call the CloudEndure API to validate the data, and you will get a response as either dry run was successful or dry run was failed. And here you can notice that the dry run was successful for all 4 servers. And for the real cutover, we can change the dry run option from yes to no. And similar to the dry run, it will make API call to the CloudEndure console, update the blueprint, and create a target cutover job, not just for one server, but for all servers in that particular wave. Now let's look at the CloudEndure console. Notice that there is a job created for the entire wave. In our case, it's wave 3. Now, have you noticed the difference here? In Migration Factory approach, I have not selected any servers, but I only selected a project and a wave. All the servers in wave 3 will be launched in one go, regardless of the number of servers in a wave, being it 10 or 100. By using Migration Factory solution, you can accelerate the migration and eliminate any potential issues or errors may occur during the manual process. And this was about the cutover. Now let's go back and take a look at our agent installation status. And looks like all CloudEndure agents were deployed successfully on all 4 servers. Now if you want to switch back to the Migration Factory console, under the resource list, you can see the status of those 4 servers has been changed to see agent install success. Now remember, every time we run any automated script, the task will be automatically updated at Migration Factory console using API calls. Now let's do a final check in the CloudEndure console. And we can see that we have 2 Windows servers in Demo 2 project and 2 Linux servers in the Demo 3 project. So far, we have seen 3 automation tasks, which cover the end-to-end migration scenario: import the source server list to the migration factory, validate the prerequisite and install the agent, and cut over all the servers in a wave in one go. And that brings us to the end of this demo. And we have seen CloudEndure Migration Factory solution helps you execute large-scale migration in an accelerated fashion. Please visit the CloudEndure Migration Factory website to learn more information about the solution by scanning the QR code. You joined this summit to learn, and you can keep learning beyond this event. Visit aws.training/migrations. Accelerate your professional development and transform your business with resources from AWS Training and Certification for you and for your team. Thanks for listening in. Kindly complete the session survey and provide your valuable feedback so that we can improve the AWS Summit experience for you in the future. Thank you.